Riverbed all clear, over. We're starting our patrol east along the canyon, north side access road, over.
Copy that, Disciple 4. Finish your sweep and get back inside. Zulu team.
Alright guys, today is Sunday, July 10th. Last night we had UFC 200. A lot of hype behind 200. A lot of things went down this week, International Fight Week. You guys, we had the John Jones situation, a lot of press conferences trying to figure out who was DC gonna fight, and it ended up being Anderson Silva. So a lot of people was expecting a lot to happen with this fight. Me for one, I definitely expected a lot. Started out really good early with the prelims, Fight Pass prelims, kicked it off real nice. A lot of people didn't really get to watch it. Wish they could have. I even missed it myself from sitting at Buffalo Wild Wings since about 6:30, and the whole fight card was over at what, a little after 1. So I spent a lot of time sitting at Buffalo Wild Wings for a pretty uneventful night. Nonetheless, it was UFC 200, so I felt like it couldn't be missed. It started off really good. Jim Miller versus Takanori Gomi. Ended in the first 2 minutes and 18 seconds into the first round via TKO from Jim Miller. That's pretty much expected. Like I said before, Jim Miller is a really good prospect. He had his time, his little 15 seconds of fame, I guess you would say, with the UFC. Then a couple setbacks with injuries, losses, things like that. So it was good to see Jim Miller get that first round TKO over Takanori Gomi, who's, no slouch, pretty durable guy. That was followed by Gregor Mousasi versus Thiago Santos via ended first round via TKO, 4 minutes 32 seconds into the first round. I know Gregor Mousasi was buying for that fight with DC. Dana White said he really didn't want to make that fight because that would leave another fighter without someone to fight, which wasn't fair to them. I thought it would go that route and maybe they would find somebody for Santos to fight or either just go ahead and pay him. Didn't end up that way. So pretty good fight for Gregor Mousasi. He's really been trying to, get the UFC to see that he's bigger than what they're using him for. He really wants that top 10 fight or a big name fight. Put him back into contention since he was the light heavyweight champion Strikeforce in the past. And I think maybe middleweight. I'm not too sure about that. I have to go back and check. But yeah, Gregor Mousasi, if you haven't seen the interview, I think it was about a 9-10 minute long post-fight interview with, I think, Ariel Helwani. Go back and check it out on YouTube or wherever you want to check out your interviews, MMA Core, wherever you can find it. Pretty good one if you want to go back and watch that. The next fight, Joe Lozon versus Diego Sanchez. Go back to I think it was my UFC 200 analysis while I was playing Battlefield 4. Go look at that, and I think I pretty much told everybody this was gonna be the fight. I did not expect it to end as quick as it did, but it was still the fight to watch. Diego Sanchez, if you've seen him early in the week, workouts, interviews, and at the weigh-ins, he was pretty amped for this fight. I hadn't seen that Diego Sanchez in a while. He had changed his nickname from Nightmare to the Dream, and now it's back to the Nightmare. And he was pretty amped up, had me really amped up on Friday at the weigh-ins. Came out, just, Lozon just really brought it to him, and he couldn't weather the storm very well. That fight was really, really good. If you got to see it, you guys, I really think the referee, I'm not sure who that guy was. I could not, place his face with someone I had seen in the past. But I thought he did a terrible job at stopping the fight. Even there was 1 second, Lozon looked back to his left, but the ref was on his right-hand side. And he was looking for the ref to say, hey, are you going to stop this? Because I really don't want to hit him anymore. But the ref just kept letting the fight go on. So Lozon looked to his right again, like, hey, are you coming to stop this? This guy's taking punishment. I don't want to keep doing this. But the ref let it keep going. And then there was a little bit of separation between the two fighters. And even Diego, he was out of it. But his eyes was still open enough to look at the referee and drop his hands like, hey, come on. Like, I don't want to tap or anything like that, but just come in and stop the fight. Because, it's overwhelming to him. But, Diego's very tough, so he definitely wasn't just going to verbally tap out or anything like that. Then you seen Lozon come in and hit him with a couple more shots, and the ref finally came in and ended the fight. So I thought that was a little, went a little bit too long. Diego took a little more damage than what he should have. But nonetheless, 3 great fights for the Fight Pass prelims. Then it moved on to Fox Sports 1, and they opened that up with Sage Northcutt versus Enrique Marin. Enrique Marin, I believe, was undefeated coming into this fight. I believe he was a Tough Brazil winner. So they tried to, I think they tried to give Sage Northcutt somebody, you know, where he could display that athleticism and get that flashy knockout. Didn't really end up that way. The judges scored it a unanimous decision for Sage Northcutt. I really didn't see it that way. I thought Enrique Marin did enough to get that decision, but it didn't happen that way. They gave it to Sage Northcutt. Very surprising to me. I tried to look right after that fight to see like if Ariel Helwani or Luke Thomas, Chuck Mendenhall, or any of them guys scored it for Enrique, but it, you know, they really didn't say much about it. They were just like great win for Sage, things like that. To me, Sage is not that fighter yet. They should really kind of pump the brakes on him. I think they, you know, invested a lot into him in a short amount of time. And there's other fighters that's definitely deserving of that money and that exposure. I believe he needs to continue to have some warm-up fights. I believe GSP even talked about he's not a believer in them just yet. You know, he's very flashy, can do some things in the moment, but he really needs to work on his grappling and his defense on the ground. So, but nonetheless, he got the win. So we'll see what they give him next. Maybe they'll slow it down, or maybe we'll see him back on Fox or something like that. Not too sure. Quite sure he has the look and everything. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him at probably Madison Square Garden if they wait that late to showcase him again. Probably not though. They'll probably put him on the same card as Paige Van Zandt again whenever she decides she wants to come back and fight. Not sure if she's got something lined up. I have to look into that. The next fight, TJ Dillashaw versus Rafael Assunção. That was also a decision fight for TJ Dillashaw. I think this fight was a little bit late. I wish they'd have ran it back right after that first fight. That was a pretty good fight, pretty close fight that TJ won the first time. You know, TJ still had that footwork. He had the breathing down packed. If you really watch him and have watched Cruz over the years and study how Cruz's footwork and his breathing, his cardio and things like that work, you see a lot of that in TJ, and he even increased it a little bit more since that fight with Cruz. You could see that he had the same breathing patterns as Cruz. Pretty decent fight there. Really didn't I expect to be a little more fireworks, but you know, it is what it is. Assunção has been injured for a while, so it was his first fight back. I think his cardio was pretty decent, but he just could not keep up with the new TJ Dillashaw. And you know, Dillashaw's a very good guy. Hopefully he ends up with that rematch with Cruz. I wish they would have ran it back. I think it was close enough and he was deserving of that rematch, but they went with Faber. You know, the UFC is looking a lot like, you know, those money fights. That's just where it's at now instead of the rankings for title shots. But I expect Cruz to go ahead and, you know, probably get, I'm not going to say make easy money on Uriah Faber, not like Frankie Edgar did in that last fight. But I expect Cruz to win, and then we'll probably see that TJ Dillashaw rematch. Not sure how that will go because it was pretty close to me. I don't know about you guys what you think, but, you know, just let me know in the comment section. Next, don't really know what to say about this fight. It wasn't bad. Kevin got good to me. Johnny Hendricks looked pretty bad. Still having those problems with weight cutting, things like that. But he took a lot of big shots from Kevin. Terrible. He did not look like himself. Looked like a skeleton. He got on the scale and was shaking pretty bad. I think he pretty much knew he didn't make weight. So he ended up had to forfeit 20% of his purse. But come that fight, he just looked terrible. He was taking a lot of big shots from Kevin Gastelum. He started to bring it through a little bit, about a second, third round, but it just was not enough. Gastelum slowed down a little bit, so it made him look like he was doing more than what he was. But in the end, Kevin Gastelum got the win, very deserving win. I don't know what's next for Johnny Hendricks. I mean, he's a lot of people would say probably move up But if you look at him, he's a lot shorter, a lot smaller than those light heavyweights. So it's hard to say for him to, well, middleweights, for him to move up like that. That's some pretty big guys. I mean, you're talking Luke Rockhold, Jacare, Yo Romero, Chris Weidman. So I don't think it would go very good with him. I don't know what he needs, whether it's just that right dietitian. He tried the Dolce diet. That didn't go well. Those two was feuding for a little while back and forth, you know, with things between the two of them. So I'm not too sure. Maybe he just needs to do some things different, try to get back into contention. I don't know how much longer he has on contract, whether he'll end up in Bellator or something. Not too sure. But nonetheless, Kevin Gastelum back into the winning column on that fight. So we'll see what's next for him as well. The last fight of the undercard, Juliana Pena defeats Kat Zingano via unanimous decision. Really did not see this coming. I think a lot of people had Kat circled on their card to get this win. Thought she'd come out with a little vengeance, wanting to show that, you know, that whole Ronda Rousey 13-second fight was a fluke and that she's much better than that. We've seen better from her with the Miesha Tate fight. Came back in that one and came back and won. You know, it's very, very tough to put Miesha Tate away, but she did it. So I expected a lot more, but Juliana Pena came in with a pretty good plan. Kat got her some good grappling, a couple slams here and there, but it just wasn't enough. And Juliana, she really capitalized on the ground game and just, you know, smothering Kat for pretty much 2 rounds. Kat couldn't do much from bottom position. She tried scrambling a little bit. Pena had her in a couple submission holds that just didn't quite work out, but she did just enough on the ground to keep the fight going and not get stood up too much. So she got the win there, and that was it for the undercard. Undercard was a lot better than the main card. Main card had all the big star power, but lacked the finishes. So if you anything like me, I was sitting there pretty distraught, disheartened, whatever you want to call it. It was pretty boring. Sitting at Buffalo Wild Wings for that many hours, all the hype for UFC 200, and it ended up with a bunch of decisions. Started off pretty well with Cain Velasquez versus Travis Brown. Cain won that via first round TKO, 4 minutes 57 seconds into the fight. I had Cain circled for a TKO, but I had it second round, so 3 seconds away from getting that. Pretty close. I was wishing the ref wouldn't have stopped it just so I could get that little quick win on that in the Buffalo Wild Wings pickup challenge. Cain Velasquez, you know, never count that guy out. We've seen injuries are what holds him back the most, but I think he is probably one of the best fighters in the heavyweight division. Not far away from getting the title shot. Depending on what happens next, I believe with there's Stipe and Overeem fighting for the title. I'll pick Overeem right now. You know, and you still got Verdun versus Big Ben Rothwell. So I don't know if they're going to wait to see how those two pan out and whether Cain will end up fighting the winner of Rothwell Verdun. Wouldn't mind seeing them run back that Verdun fight, so I wouldn't be surprised there. But we know the UFC loves Cain Velasquez, really wants that Mexican market. I don't know if they're still going for it, but more than likely so, because you know, Cain is that guy. So I can see them giving him the title shot next. Cain versus Overeem wouldn't be a bad fight. I don't know about a headline. They'd have to pretty much stack it for me to really get amped for it. So I'm not a big fan of either one of them. JDS is my man. But we've seen what's going on with him. But nonetheless, Cain got the win. He's back into the contention for the heavyweight division, which definitely needs some help. We've seen pretty much the same guys fight each other over and over there. Next fight of the night was Jose Aldo defeats Frankie Edgar via unanimous decision. Whew, boy. Expected this fight to be a little more back and forth. Like the first fight was really close, paper thin on who he had there. A lot of people say Jose, I kind of had Frankie winning. I'm not too sure. Part of me says, nah, Frankie got pretty much outclassed, but I'd have to go back and watch it again, which I wouldn't mind because it was that good of a fight. Jose Aldo pretty much did outclass him on this one. Frankie, he still had that footwork, but it seemed like he was just off every time he tried to get in there. Aldo would just land the big significant strikes on him, and he just made Frankie Edgar look pretty slow. We've seen a lot of desperation moves from Frankie. You don't see him do that many spinning kicks and things like that very well. I think he felt pretty desperate and just wanted to try to open it up a little to get Aldo to thinking. Like, you know, maybe he's going to make a mistake or something like that, but Aldo never did. Aldo came in very good shape. I haven't seen Aldo look that good athletically in quite some time. Really wasn't a believer in him this week when he said the old Aldo is back. I can't say the old Aldo is back because we didn't see a lot from him. A lot of his stuff was counter strikes, and you know, he had bad intentions in what he threw, but it just wasn't a lot. There was still a lot of backing up, just standing there. He was very defensive in this fight and not very offensive, but his offense was enough to win the fight because he made Frankie look very slow. Frankie was missing a lot of his shots, very frustrated. He was throwing his head down, talking to himself during the fight. I think Frankie got a little caught up in, you know, his past few fights. He starts Dustin Poirier, knocked out Chad Mendez, made quick work of him. You know, that was not expected. Then he just totally outclassed Uriah Faber on the feet and on the ground. So I think he got kind of caught up in, you know, how well he was doing, which, you know, he looked like the best Frankie Edgar. And that's what's so bad about this fight. There was supposed to be the best Aldo. He thought Aldo's time was past. And Aldo said, this is the best me. Then it was the best Frankie, but it did not look like the best Frankie. He looked very slow, like he wasn't even supposed to be in that weight division. So great job to Aldo to get back. We heard he's ready for that fight. He says that, you know, he's just caught a bad luck that night, that fight really shouldn't have went like that. And, you know, I really didn't expect it to go like that. Probably you guys didn't either. But nonetheless, he got the win over Frankie Edgar. I had Edgar circled for a decision in the fifth, unanimous decision. Not unanimous, but maybe split decision is what I thought. Didn't end up that way. Nonetheless, Jose Aldo got the win. Next fight, Daniel DC Cormier versus Anderson Silva. DC wins via unanimous decision. Here we go. A lot to say about this fight. We know Anderson Silva stepped in for John Jones. Last minute, 2-day notice, stepped on the scale the next morning at 8 o'clock. Fight was announced around about 8, 9 o'clock that night, maybe 10 Eastern time. A lot of people pretty much figured DC would just go through and maul Anderson. We was hoping that we'd see old Anderson or what we saw from Bisping, the quick flash, knockout or something like that. The fans were expecting it. The fans were amped for this fight. Hence the reaction that you got at the weigh-ins and at the walkouts for the fight. Fight really did not end up that way. I figured DC would use some wrestling. I thought he would stand and strike with him. I thought we'd see him with one of his big slams on Anderson. I penciled Anderson in to win because that's just a fan in me. But I knew pretty much that DC was probably going to win this fight because DC is actually a heavyweight. He probably weighed about 240 by the time they walked into the cage, while Anderson probably weighed a little over 205. I think Anderson weighed in Friday at 198, so he was probably a little over 205 at that. We've seen a couple flashes of Anderson in the striking game, but on the ground, he just couldn't do anything. DC, the bigger guy, just imposed his will. He just kept moving on the ground. I think some of the, I think that stood him twice. I really don't see why DC was continuously using the forearms, punches, pretty big punches at that, and forearms. Cut Anderson Silva by his eye, I believe, on the bridge of the nose, somewhere around there. But nonetheless, they still got stood twice. Fans was booing. I don't think fans really wanted to see a wrestling match. I know after the fight, if you watch the UFC 200 post-fight show with Ariel Helwani, you've seen that he was very livid about the reaction that the fans gave during this fight, the booing and things like that. I mean, the fans were cheering for DC when he came out, but they booed him in the fight. Reason why, I know Ariel was really upset, saying, I don't want to hear about, oh, the fans pay all this good money, things like that. But that's part of it. They do pay a lot of money. These are casual fans. Casual fans, I believe, really outweigh us hardcore fans that have been watching the UFC for over 15 years. Hence, they want to come in. If they pay their money, they want to come in and see two guys standing with each other. They want to see the knockouts, the kicks, just all the flashy stuff that, you know, you see on the UFC 200 greatest knockouts, things like that come on Fox Sports 1 and stations like that they see. That's what those fans want to see. You know, if they want to see a wrestling match, they can turn to ESPN and watch the college wrestling championships or something like that. So that's not what they wanted to see. Plus, most of them are probably fans of Anderson Silva and seen what he's done in the past and was hoping to see some of that happen. I don't think they was booing DC as a person. It was more that they just did not want to watch wrestling. You know, it happens in a lot of other fights where, you know, you expect a good stand-up striking match, but you end up with a wrestling match. I think the only person people don't really criticize for it a lot, I know it's hardcore people do, but the casuals really don't, and that's GSP. People just love him. He just has this look, this presence that, you know, people just draw to him, and they don't care about him laying on top of someone and grinding them. I know he also hinted that, you know, everybody booed DC for it, but Brock pretty much had the same game plan, but no one booed him for it. I think it was more because the expectation of Brock is that he's heavy-handed. So even if he got on top of Mark Henry, you was going to see those big lunch boxes just pound on Mark Hunt. Regardless, with DC, it wasn't that. You didn't think he was going to get up there, get top position, and just throw soft. You thought he would throw soft punches and not you know, go for the kill like Brock Lesnar does. Brock Lesnar, when he gets on top of you, is just he's coming for you. He's gonna smash your head in, and that's not what the fans expected from DC if he got top position. Probably some more wrestling, grinding it out. You know, that whole "I'm the king of grind" thing that him and John Jones have feuded about forever. You know, I'm the king of grind. Well, I grinded you tonight. So I think that's, you know, what the fans was booing for. Like DC said, he can't control that. He's the fighter, and, you know, his job is to go out there and win. So that's what he figured. Why not? Why stand in front of Anderson Silva, who's that dangerous as a striker, when I know I have the upper hand in the wrestling and grappling? So that's exactly what he did. He got the win. So he got the win, got the paycheck, and that was that. Final fight, Amanda Nunes defeats Miesha Tate via submission by rear naked choke. Man, it's pretty much how I figured the first round would pan out. We all knew that Amanda Nunes is very fast-paced, come right at you, try to bulldoze you in the first round, but then we'll probably gas out or kind of just not really have enough in her those late rounds. So in Miesha Tate, she's more of a slow starter, and then, you know, she just outworks you rounds 3, 4, and 5 if it comes to it. So that's what most people, I believe, expected. Probably had Miesha Tate circled. I know some fans, when I look at the comment section on MMA Fighting, they did have Amanda Nunes winning this fight. I really didn't expect it. I expected what we saw from the first round, but I thought Miesha Tate would do a good job. She's very durable. She can hang in there. Her mindset is never give up, and she never really does. So that's kind of what I expected. Did not go this way. If you really watched her all week long, she really did not seem like herself. If you watch her, she talked about, you know, the whole Ronda Rousey thing and kind of looking beyond this fight. Then even at the walkout, she did not look like herself. She looked like she really didn't want to be there and fight. I don't know what was going on. She was late. She almost missed the weigh-ins, that 10 o'clock early weigh-ins. I know it's a little bit different for the fighters. They're not used to it. But nonetheless, if you know you're at weight, your camp's good, you should already be there, ready to step on that scale, because I don't think there is a set rotation of who gets on the scale when, you know, you just show up and then, you know, you're next. But she almost missed that 10 o'clock, which, you know, the fight would have been off if she wouldn't have got there on time, and she got there right on time to get on the scale. So I believe she had some problems all week. Don't really know what it was. She really didn't go into it herself. She was pretty upset about the loss, things like that. But I think there was some other things going on, maybe in her life or something like that, or just had a hard weight cut from stress or something. I'm not too sure. Like I said, she didn't go into it, but she definitely wasn't herself. You know, she got busted up pretty bad. I believe broken nose. If you've seen her at the post-fight show, she had the hood on, had the towel in front of her. You could see like the bridge of her nose was just really swollen. So definitely had a broken nose. And she tapped out to the rear naked choke, which if you watched it, the choke was more on her jaw than it was around her neck. So I think maybe, you know, a lot of people saying, how did she tap out to that? It wasn't that much of a neck crank either. I think it was just that she had a pretty hard time breathing. Amanda Nunes had her mandible kind of smashed down, and her nose was already broke. So I think she just tapped out from knowing that, you know, my nose is broke, I can't breathe. I've took enough strikes. This fight's pretty much over, so I might as well just go ahead and tap out. Probably see her back pretty soon. I think she said she's going to take a little time, go to Toronto, relax, then get back into the gym. I know she talked before about retiring when she couldn't get the fights that she wanted, and they just seemed to be throwing Ronda Rousey some cans. You know, she had to fight the tougher competition. So I'm not sure where she's going to go from here. I'm quite sure it's pretty disheartening not to, you know, still have that belt wrapped around her waist. So we'll see how things go from there with her. But nonetheless, we got a new champ. Maybe Ronda will be back. Maybe not. I doubt it. I believe we'll see Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena next. Probably not the greatest fight when you talk about trying to bring in pay-per-view buys. So I expect that the fight, if it does happen, to be on Fox Sports 1, maybe Fox. If it is on pay-per-view, it'll probably be a co-main or probably right under the co-main. I don't think it's enough to headline or really help sell a card, so we'll see there. Maybe Ronda will be back, maybe not. I'm leaning more towards maybe not. I think she would have stated it by now. It's been since November. We haven't heard much. We keep hearing, oh, she still looks like she's pretty decent shape if you see her in the commercials and things like that. But, you know, you haven't heard her definitively say, yes, I'm coming back, anything like that. But I'm really doubtful in that. But we'll see what's next with that division. You've got Holly Holm coming up pretty soon. I believe she's a Fox fight. So I wouldn't mind seeing her. I'm sure she'll be in contention if she gets the win pretty impressively. So we'll see what's next there. But you guys, UFC 200 as a whole, to me, kind of a letdown. I felt like I really couldn't miss it. So even if I would have missed it, and came back and seen all the unanimous decisions and heard people's reactions to it, I'd have been like, well, I'll watch it on MMA Core, see how the fights went. Probably wouldn't watch all of them because I knew they went to decision, so they couldn't be too eventful. I wouldn't be missing much if I skipped the fight. I thought I got caught up in the hype of it. I'm sure everybody else did. It just didn't pan out. Not the UFC's fault. They gave us the best card they could give us. This was the best lineup from top to bottom. There was never a card that I could say, definitely sit here and say, yes, I'm excited to see the Fight Pass prelims, the Fox Sports 1 prelims. Just everybody on this fight card was a name, a big name at that. Hold up, why is John Jones in the heavyweight division? Okay. But yeah, card was stacked with the biggest names in the division. It just didn't pan out to be the best card ever, fight-wise. Unfortunately, no one got to see the best fights of the night, which was the Fight Pass and the prelim cards, things like that. Hopefully, you guys can go back and watch that. If you don't know where to watch it, go to MMA-core.com. You find all the videos there. That's usually where I watch it. I think people put them up on Daily Motion. I think my cousin says he watches them on Facebook. But MMA Core is just pretty much the go-to site for me. Like I said, go back and watch the Gregor Mousasi about 9-minute long video, his post-fight interview. He said some pretty good, interesting things there of where he wants to go next, and how things are shaping out. Go back and watch that. And, you know, if you haven't seen the press conference, the post-fight show area, Hawani, those are all good videos to sit back and watch today. Not much going on in the UFC Hall of Fame. You got Fight Pass, I believe you can see that. Coming up Wednesday night, we have the McDonald versus Lineker fight card from South Dakota, I believe it is. Pretty weird having a fight card on a Wednesday, but nonetheless, I'll be tuning in to see that, because you also got Tony Ferguson with the stand-in replacement fighter. I believe his name is Vannata, V-A-N-N-A-T-A or something. Expect to see the good display from Tony Ferguson, red hot right now in the lightweight division, which is pretty stacked. We also said Will Brooks this week. Didn't look too good. I think the UFC jitters are real, you guys. He looked pretty gassed out. Had a tough time with Ross Pearson, who's been in the game for a while. So we'll see what's next for him as well. No, he called out Alvarez. Alvarez called out Conor. Everybody wants the so-called red panty night with Conor McGregor, the big payday. So we'll see what's next there. You know, Dana White had a little interview, a couple interviews. Fox Sports 1 interview in the recap in the back with Megan O'Leary. Some of the same points he talked about. It felt very scripted. Nonetheless, you know, we've been waiting on the Dana White pre-fight scrums and things like that to come back. I don't know if they're coming back, but you know, he had a decent interview about 8 to 10 minutes long with Megan O'Leary, and Fox Sports 1 hit on the same topics. So if you want to go, you can go watch those also on YouTube. And that's UFC channel has those. I know he talked about, yes, Conor will be going down after his Nate Diaz fight. He will be going to defend his 145 belt against Jose Aldo. We'll see how that cracks out. We know Conor kind of makes his own decisions there. So if he wants to fight 155, which I believe is his division that he should be fighting in, then if he says he wants Alvarez, then I'm quite sure they're going to give him Alvarez and not make him go to 145. They'll probably make him relinquish his title there, which I think he should do, because I think he belongs in 155. That's just the right division for him. Of course, he can fight at 170, but I think as far as cutting weight and just being the best he can be, I think 155 is where he should be in that stacked division. But you guys, nonetheless, UFC 200 is over. Pretty eventful week. Pretty uneventful fight last night, but a pretty eventful week. July, I believe it was the 7th, will officially go down as press conference day. We had 5 press conferences within a 24-hour time period. And don't ever want to be a part of something like that. Well, he's already pretty much bald, but I'm sure he pretty much pulled his hair out, and he's glad this is over with. He can sit back and relax today and with the UFC Hall of Fame inductions. But nonetheless, you guys, thanks for watching. Like I always say, leave your comments, questions. Let me know anything you want me to do any different, what you would like to hear me talk about. Pretty much done with MMA for a little bit, it seems. Probably talk about some other things, movies, games, something like that. Just let me know in the comment section. Like the video, subscribe to my channel. Anything you guys want to do, just let me know. You know, this is just something I do on the side for fun. I do work a lot. I've just been on vacation this week, so I can post more videos for you guys. But nonetheless, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.